this video, I will show you, yes you my beloved viewers, how the Small Business Administration and Congress are cocking back their gats to knock on your door and collect the economic injury disaster loan money that America's small business owners owe to the federal government. As you may very well know, the SBA earlier this year announced that they would suspend active collections of economic injury disaster loans of less than $100,000. However, the federal agency ran into a couple of snags, when first, SBA Inspector General Hannibal Mike Ware sent a management advisory note to SBA Administrator Isabella Casillas Guzman, urging the agency to continue collection efforts of EIDLs of less than $100,000, asserting that the SBA had no grounds to stop that collections activity. Now, Congress, most specifically the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Small Business, is urging and demanding that the Small Business Administration continue with active collection efforts of EIDLs of less than $100,000, asking for all kinds of proof. Forget about the fact that the federal government forced America's small business owners to shut down their operations during the pandemic, while big box retailers, including but not limited to Walmart, Target, Home Depot, I think even PetSmart, all had the authority to continue their operations under the guise of providing essential services. A tale of two pandemics. Big box stores rake in record profits while small businesses fold. Is that the plan to ensure that the small business owner is not able to operate his or her small business at the fullest capacity to compete against these big box public organizations that regularly line the pockets of these politicians? First things first, as I told you on my most recent newsletter broadcast, I released a new spreadsheet. Now, on this spreadsheet, I will be linking you to all of the references on my video. So for instance, the video that I recently released, Broke, Do This Now, where I give you the tactics on how to create a YouTube channel that actually welcomes views, how to post videos that welcomes views, where you can direct people into your funnel and start to create a community of people and build a business online. Here are all the citations and references that I mentioned on the video, and some additional ones. For instance, I interviewed a major YouTuber at the time back in 2013, and he shared some advice that I documented on Forbes on how to make money on YouTube. He was clocking like around 20 grand. He gave himself his own record deal because he was a rapper, the Broke and Do This Now, where I show you the exact tactics that made this video, or make this video, my #1 video over the past 10 videos. This stuff really works. Everything you need to create on YouTube, the Creator Academy, which it was called at one particular point in time, Make $200,000, where I interview a major YouTube consultant that works with top YouTubers on the platform, and all the citations that I'll be covering with you today on this SBA collections activity update. First up, for a little context, this is the management advisory note Hannibal Mike Ware sent to SBA Administrator Isabella Casillas Guzman. First, these are his concerns: that the Debt Collection Improvement Act of 1996, which prohibits ending collections on fraudulent, false, or misrepresented claims, is something that the Small Business Administration is not abiding by. It is also unclear whether SBA plans to end active collections on loans for borrowers who received multiple EIDLs of $100,000 or less, when combined exceed $100,000. So just to clarify, he wants to ensure that the Small Business Administration will still hold collections activities against people who borrowed more than $100,000 through multiple loans. So, for instance, if someone borrowed $30,000 during the first round and then got an additional $80,000, that's $110,000. Will they continue to collect on that money? Now, if you want a link to these references that I'll be mentioning on this video absolutely for free, I'll be sending a broadcast if you are already a subscriber. However, if you've not subscribed, hit bit.ly/Neil Rod, enter in your email address and first name, and I will send you a copy of this new spreadsheet plus the grants or cash for everyone spreadsheet, where I list resources, information portals to grants for everyone, all kinds of money-making opportunities and ways for you to educate yourself to be anything you want to be. Secondly, Mr. Ware, or Inspector General Ware, is concerned that the cost-benefit analysis did not include periodic comparisons of costs incurred and amounts collected as federal regulations require. So in other words, the analysis the SBA performed in order to determine that they would suspend collections activity was not valid according to Ware, or the SBA didn't do its due diligence to ensure that it was valid. Finally, SBA does not appear to have fully evaluated its consultants' recommendations to sell a portion of the EIDL portfolio to maximize the return to taxpayers. So, again, he's citing that the SBA is not effectively considering its consultants' recommendation to sell the portfolio of EIDLs to collection agencies, perhaps, so the American people can get some back of that money. The portfolio of economic injury disaster loans of less than $100,000 is at around $70.9 billion. Now, forget about the tens of billions of dollars that the federal government gives, and that's an emphasis with an underline and italics, and throw a control B to bold it out. Gives about the same amount of money every single year to foreign countries. If you hit foreignassistance.gov, take a look at the federal government's obligations amounting to $69 billion in fiscal year 2022. In 2023, the federal government has distributed $31 billion so far, and we're not done yet. Go to 2021, $52 billion. I'm trying to determine whether this money is in the form of loans or in the form of grants, because take a look. Here is, let's say you take a look at Jordan Cash Transfer Program, USAID, generally followed the grant agreement. Right here, grant. Look, the United States federal government issued a grant, as far as I can see. I haven't looked into this in depth, but take a look. For how much was it? Let me see. $845.1 million in economic support funds under the Cash Transfer Program to the government of Jordan in 2021. So only one country got $845.1 million in grants for everyone but us. And they're beefing about the $70 billion portfolio in economic injury disaster loans of less than $100,000. Here's Congress's take. The House Committee on Small Business Committee is continuing our investigation into the Biden administration's decision not to actively pursue collection on loans of $100,000 or less in the PPP and emergency injury disaster. They don't even know the correct name. It's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. The committee maintains that the decision not to pursue active collection on these loans is a waste of taxpayer dollars. Unlike the PPP, these loans were never meant to be forgiven and represent a portfolio value of $70.9 billion. So they are willing to engage in all kinds of active collections in the form of, as you can read right here, active collection activities such as foreclosure on property, collateral, and wage garnishment on all delinquent EIDLs with an outstanding balance of $100,000 or less. Also, repossession of equipment, collateral, litigation, and referral to Treasury's Bureau of the Fiscal Service for centralized collection and offset through Treasury's cross-servicing program and the Treasury offset program described below. Again, once they send your loan to the Treasury, then you're subject to wage garnishment, negotiated repayment, and use of private collection agencies, stuff that is going to tear your credit up. The Debt Collection Improvement Act of 1996 requires credit granting agencies to report delinquent debts to credit bureaus, refer to Treasury eligible debts more than 180 days delinquent that the agency has been unable to collect, and bar debtors from receiving federal direct guaranteed or insured loans until their delinquent debts owed to the United States are resolved. So they want to garnish your wages, they want to take your pay, I think in the amount of up to 10 to 15%. So if you make $100, they're going to take every $15 out of those $100 that you get from a paycheck, damage your credit. They're going to post all kinds of derogatory notations on that credit report, and they will bar you from receiving federal direct guaranteed or insured loan. In other words, anything, so there's another pandemic, God forbid, and a new strain is released or whatever, or spreading across the country, you don't qualify for any of the programs that the federal government is going to fund. Federal debts determined by an agency to uncollectible should be closed out and reported to the IRS as potential taxable income to the debtor. These guys get very creative when it comes down to billing you and collecting. In other words, if they determine that the debt is uncollectible or it's closed out, then they may just report it to the IRS as taxable income. In other words, you got that money in, so now you owe half because we are in business with the federal government. You always got to give around half in taxes, so that'll be like income, basically. Let's see how else they can get creative. SBA asserted its rationale for ending active collections was also to provide equitable treatment to smaller sole proprietors, borrowers who are not protected by an incorporation shield by incorporated borrowers. 3 million EIDLs of 100,000 or less were made to sole proprietors. So the SBA is arguing that that's one of the reasons that they stopped collections activities. SBA explained that it based its conclusion of insubstantial recoveries on collection efforts made for only $23.5 million of SBA Express loans to sole proprietors that are referred to Treasury over a 14-year period, of which only $65,000 were recovered. So they could only recover $65,000. They are arguing, the SBA is arguing, that it would cost more to recover the money than to just charge it off or not actively collect. Then if you scroll down, these are the recommendations of the Inspector General's office, that they perform comprehensive cost-benefit analysis with federal regulations to determine that the cost of collecting do not exceed that $70.9 billion portfolio, reevaluate the decision to end collections, and does not end collections pursuant decision of any or less made to borrowers receive multiple EIDLs that when combined exceed $100,000. Again, if someone got, let's say, 2 economic disaster loans, one of 50 and the other of 60, they got 110 in total, to not stop that. So then the SBA responded in Appendix 1 agency response. SBA is not referring these loans to Treasury, but is actively conducting collection activities on all delinquent EIDLs. So they are continuing collection activities. They're just not sending the loans out to Treasury. Provide past due notices, due process letters, and demand letters to delinquent EIDL borrowers with loan balances of $100,000 or less. Process UCC financing statements, modifications, and release requests after borrowers to credit bureaus and ensure they are included on the U.S. Department of the Treasury's do not pay list. So they are performing those activities, collection activities. Nonetheless, they're just not referring it to Treasury. In other words, they're still servicing it. The Small Business Administration is still servicing these loans of less than $100,000. It's not sending it to Treasury. That's what they're saying. The responses to some of the recommendations of the IG read, response, SBA partially agrees. SBA is currently evaluating the cost-benefit analysis of collections on the related but different PPP program. SBA will determine if a separate cost-benefit analysis is necessary to make an informed decision to refer the EIDLs of $100,000 or less to Treasury. The SBA is determining whether they can use the same analysis to decide whether they're going to continue collections activity on PPP funds that were not forgiven. And in response to recommendation 2, the SBA agrees. The SBA will reevaluate and amend as appropriate the decision contingent on the outcome of the more comprehensive cost-benefit analysis performed on PPP. And for recommendation 3, they will agree that if a borrower in aggregate loans borrowed more than $100,000, so for instance, 6 $20,000 loans, right? Then, if the technology is feasible, the SBA will implement a system to flag the multiple loans that add up to more than $100,000 and thus pursue collection activities. SBA partially agrees. If the loans were obtained through fraudulent means, then they will continue collections activity as aggressive as possible. And the SBA concluded that it was not in the best interest of the government to proceed with the sale of this portfolio, I guess, to collections organizations or other organizations that would buy these loans at pennies on the dollar to continue collections activities. Now, this is the House Committee on Small Business Chairman Roger Williams. This is the press release announcing that they sent this letter to the Small Business Administration administrator and how they're demanding that money back. If you want to contact these people, feel free to do so. Right here is their contact information. Here's the phone number, 202-225-5821. You saw the pages where billions of dollars is going out to foreign countries, but in regards to the small business owner, they want their money back. Here's another article. As a result of federal payment errors known as improper payments, the federal government has wasted $247 billion, and they want that money back, right? According to the Festivus report by Senator Rand Paul, if I'm not mistaken, there's a $28.4 trillion deficit, 30 trillion without so much as a second thought, 3.5 trillion that the big government politicians, okay? I highlighted a whopping 482 billion of waste, including a steroid-induced hamster fight club, a study to see if kids love their pets, and a study of the romantic patterns of parrots. Nonetheless, they want their paper from America's small business owners who constitute the backbone of this country. Over 99% of all U.S. businesses employing roughly half of the U.S. workforce. If someone does not want to hit the welfare line or file for unemployment, you start a small business in the mecca of capitalism. It's what makes this country great. Feel free to contact them and let them know where your head's at, so you can access the links to which I referred in this video and access all the resources that I include in the Cash for Everyone spreadsheet.